Hey there, good people. Hope you're doing good. Welcome to Tialfeni Mugali channel, and let us today focus on linear programming, particularly formation of linear inequalities. We have this question over here that is requiring us to form a linear inequality. So guys, what I want us to do in this question before we start tackling it, I want us first of all, we understand the basic concept concerning formation of linear inequalities. I therefore call those basic concepts as golden tips. And golden tip number one is that you need to understand these three ones. The first one is at least. The second one is greater than or equal to, or not less than. All right? Maybe an example would be better. For example, oh my, what did you do to my pen? X is at least 5. What does that mean? And X is greater than or equal to 5, and X is not less than 5. All these statements are equivalent. Or in short, they are equal. And they mean that, so these three statements are equal. X is at least 5. So it is 5, 6, 7 going up. X is greater than or equal to 5. So it means that 5 is included and X is not less than 5. So these three statements means the same, and therefore they mean that X is greater or equal to 5. And it can take values like 5, 6, 7, all the way. So that is golden tip number 1. Golden tip number 2 talks about, is actually the opposite of this. And we are talking of 3 ones. Atmost, less than or equal to, and not more than. Not more than. Maybe we can look at an example also. For example, you are told that y is at most 3, or you are told y is less than or equal to 3, or probably you are told that y is not more than 3. Again, these 3 statements are equivalent. They are equivalent. And they mean that, this means that y is less or equal 3. And it can take values such as 3, 2, 1, or 0. So this is golden tip number 2. Golden tip number 3 that you need to know and understand, and it should be in your fingertips for you to be able to form linear inequalities in linear programming. This is about more than and less than. More than and less than. What does those two words mean? More than, maybe you can talk of more than 4 means values, no, 4 is not included, more than 4. So values like 5, 6, or 7. And these are a form of very strict statements. And this one can be expressed, this statement can be expressed as probably X is more than 4. So this is a strict statement. Remember, there is no equal to. Another statement is less than, probably 5. This means it can take values such as, we are talking of less than 5. So 5 is not included. It can take values like 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0. Less than. And it can be expressed as probably Y is less than 5. Again, these statements are very strict. That is golden tip number 3. Golden tip number 4. Golden tip number 4 talks about when you're forming the linear inequalities. Another thing that should be in your fingertips is that some informations are not provided in the question. And we normally say that they are explicit. That means they are not provided in the information. For it is upon the student or the tutor to use the common sense to know that this information is implied. For example, when you're involving information to deal with the human beings, production of items, and problems involving commercial issues, whereby we are supposed to use sharings. We are supposed to state the number of items that have been formed, the number of employees to be employed. So common sense says that the number of human beings, the number of items manufactured or produced by a company, or probably the amount in shillings can never be negative. And therefore, if X people are involved, if X items are involved, if X shillings are involved, then it is implied that X is greater or equals 0, because it can never take the negative value. So with those few remarks, and please don't forget that all these golden tips will be in the description box of this video. Don't forget to check it there for better understanding. Now, I want us, without much ado, to focus on now how to form inequalities that are possible in this problem. But don't forget those golden tips. At least, greater than or equal to, and not less than means one and the same thing. At most, less than or equal to, and not more than mean one and the same thing. More than means this statement is very strict. Less than means the statement are still very strict. And then don't forget to use your common sense to come up with an inequality that is implied in the information, but the information is not given. It's working. So now let us try to solve this problem that is in our hands. We are told that in a certain project, X men and Y women are employed. There must be at least 4 men and at most 7 women. There must not be more than 15 people. How are we going to solve this? We need to understand we are talking about X men and Y women, and the information given here is that there must be at least 4 men and at most 7 women, and there must not more than 15 people. Remember those statements we are aware about? When you talk of at least means greater than or equal to, and also means that not less than. So the first inequality that is coming out very clearly is that since the number of, there must be at least men is taking X, men is taking X, and women is taking Y. So what does this mean? It means that there must be at least 4 men. At least 4 men means X is greater or equal 4, and this is the first inequality. And at most 7 women. We know that at most less than or equal to and not more than means the same. So at most 7 women means Y is less than or equal to 7. And this is the second inequality that is coming out very clearly. And the other statement is that there must not be more than, not more than. Not more than means at most. It also means less than or equal to. So we are told that there must not be more than 15 people. When we talk of people, we are talking about both men and women. So this means that not more than 15 people means that X, the number of men, plus Y, the number of women, must not be more than. So it should be less or equal 15. And this is the third inequality. As simple as that. And you get your free 3 marks. This is the first mark, the second mark, and the third mark. So this question is totaling to 3 marks. Maybe one more example will make you understand better. And I want us to look at the way the council, the examination council, set this kind of the problem. So I want us to look at an example from a previous KCSE paper 2, probably number 19. Remember, most of these questions are always in section B, because remember in form 2 we learned about graphical representation of linear inequalities, analytical solutions of linear inequalities, and the representation of linear inequalities on the number line, and even the finding the integral values of the region defined by a number of linear inequalities. So the combination of those topics in Form 1, the topic in Form 1 about linear inequalities and linear programming put together, they form a 10 marks question. But I know the most critical area is the formation of linear equation, linear inequalities, because when we know how to form linear inequalities, then the graphical representation of those linear inequalities will not be a problem. Also, the shading of unwanted sign will not be a problem, nor the finding of integral values of the region defined by a number of inequalities will not be a problem. So I want us to look at one more question about the formation of linear inequality. As I have said in the past KCSE papers, and I think we shall look at KCSE that was done in 1998, paper 2, number 19. Do stay tuned. We are told a draper is required to supply 2 types of shirts, type A and type B. The total number of shirts must be not more than 400. And note the word not more than. It has to supply more of type A than of type B. More of type A than of type B. You also need to note that, however, the number of type A shirts must not be more than 300. Must not be more than 300. And the number of type B shirts must not be less than 80. Let X be the number of type A shirts and Y be the number of type B shirts. And then you are told, write down in terms of X and Y all the linear inequalities representing the information above. I have decided to just take the part A of this question so that we learn on how to make or to form linear inequalities. So, without much ado, let us look at now our question the second time, so that we try to own the question and understand it better. So there is someone who is supposed to supply 2 types of shirt, A and B, and we are told that the total number of shirt must not be more than 400. And type A should be more than type B. However, A should not be more than 300 and B shirt not less than 80. If we let X, now we are told, maybe we can start. Okay, we are told that X is represents type A, and the Y represent type B. If that is the case, then we are requested to write down in terms of x and y all the linear inequalities representing the information above. So we want now to start from there, type A and type B. So the total number of shirts must not be more than 400. Total number of shirts is the number of type A plus the number of type B, but should not be more than 400. So when we are told that total number of shirts must not be more than 400. What does it mean? This one means that x type A plus type B not more than. Remember, not more than means at most, less than or equal to, and not more than. So it should be less or equal 400, and this we have just formed our first inequality. Then the other statement is that he has to supply more of type A than of type B. More of type A than type B, this implies that x more than is greater than y. And this is the second inequality. So up to this point we are okay. However, the number of type A shirts must not be more than 300. Must not be more than. So when we talk of not more than 300 of type A, we are talking about at most. So we are talking of x being less or equal 300, not more than. So we are talking of less than or equal to. And this one is the third inequality. Let's proceed. And the number of type B shirts must not be less than 80 shirts, okay? So when we talk of not, type B shirt must not be less than, not less than 80 of type B. This one will imply that Y not less than means at least. Y should be greater or equal 80. And this one gives us the fourth inequality. So, and the number of type B shirt must not be less than 80. So, and the rest of the question is what we have done before. Let x be the number of type A shirts and y be of the type B shirt. Write down in terms of x and y all the possible inequalities representing the information above. So we have 4 inequalities that can be possibly formed from this question, and not any other more inequality. Thank you so much for watching up to the last second. I really appreciate your time, and I will not mind doing this as long as you're making mathematics a booster subject. If this is your first time, to start by, thank you so much, a lot of love.